Praise the Lord, everybody. We're a little late on the prayer tool this week because we've been on a school trip. So I thought it was fitting to do the video this morning. We're on the deck of our living quarters up on the roof, and just over my shoulder, if you can see it, is our nation's capital. And that is the inspiration for our prayer tool today. There it is. I'm working from two phones, so y'all forgive me. We are in Isaiah chapter 9, verses 6 and 7 from the New English Translation. All right, for a child has been born to us, a son has been given to us. He shoulders responsibility and is called Extraordinary Strategist, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. His dominion will be vast, and he will bring immeasurable prosperity. He will rule on David's throne and over David's kingdom, establishing it and strengthening it by promoting justice and fairness from this time forward and forevermore. The Lord's intense devotion to his people will accomplish this. I chose a more modern translation, one, because we are accustomed to hearing the King James Version at Christmas. But two, because it really points out what I want to get across to us in this prayer tool. And we are talking about where to place the government, the authority of Christ in prayer, where to place the government. Now, we find in Isaiah 9 and 6 that Christ shoulders the responsibility, that the government shall be upon his shoulders. And there, when we move into, when we grow up into prayer and intercession, one of the things we find and encounter are systems of authority in the spirit, rank and file, if you will. Ephesians 6 is a cross-reference here, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers, the rulers of darkness of this world, spiritual wickedness in high places. These are tiers of organized systems in the spirit. And what we find in Isaiah 9 and 6 is that responsibility of authority to counter systems is on the shoulders of the Lord Christ. He is the extraordinary strategist. He is the mighty God, the everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. This speaks to his counter plan. This speaks to his strength and his supreme authority. It also speaks to his authority in and out of time as the everlasting Father. And then he is the Prince of Peace. What is key is in verse 7, that his dominion will be vast. In the King James Version, it says, of the increase of his government, there will be no end. He will bring immeasurable prosperity. And here's the key. He rules on David's throne. He rules in a generational type of way. The authority has come through a lineage. Don't miss that. He will rule on David's throne and over David's kingdom. He will establish it. He will strengthen it. How? By promoting justice and fairness. Now, this kind of points to, in prayer, that warning against praying our own mind and praying our own opinion. Leaning not to our own understanding, if you will, but really getting into the scriptures and praying the mind of Christ from this time forward and forevermore. Here's what's key. At the end of verse 7, in King James Version, it says, the zeal of the Lord of hosts will accomplish this. And what we find in the New English Translation is that the Lord's intense devotion to his people will accomplish this. It's not, I want to keep the capital in here, it's not in our ability, it's not by our might or by our power, it's only by the Spirit of the Lord. And so it is his love for us that accomplishes the prayer. It's not, we have to get involved by praying the prayer to reveal and release his will in the earth, but we're the vessel. That's why we have an ear to hear what the Spirit says to the church, where we can open our mouths and release the prayer that the Lord wants to hear to bring about the end that the Lord wants to see. Does that make sense? And it's his love for us that accomplishes it. It's the zeal of the Lord, not our zeal, which is often not according to knowledge, but it is the zeal of the Lord that accomplishes this. So I pray that's a blessing for you. Take a look at that again. We'll kind of have our Christmas in July. But take a look at that again, Isaiah chapter 9, verses 6 and 7, and spend some time meditating on the government of Christ, what is resting on his shoulders. And when we get into situations and when we're praying about concerns, even in the corporate body, place that authority, place that burden, that responsibility on the shoulders of Christ. The scripture says he's the one that's carrying it. And it's an act of faith. It's an act of faith to roll that authority onto him. Hope it's a blessing to you. God bless you. We love you. See you next week. Back in Texas in my car for another prayer tool.